Mr. Fassuliotis?
Yes.
Yes, sir. Mr. Smith, do you have anything? Okay, thank you.
Thank you. And I will be brief. My phone ran out of battery, so my notes are gone. So we'll get to the point very quickly.
Kind of like the Bitcoin
my
I
name is
used
Dennis
on.
Fassuliotis. Mr. Chairman, thank you for having me. Obviously, Mr. West, very nice to finally see you. We've had a lot of correspondence. I founded Palmetto Chain, which was a grassroots advocacy program, primarily to focus on blockchain technology in South Carolina. We rebranded into South Carolina Emerging Technology Association last year. And since that time, we have focused on primarily digital asset data centers as an economic development incentive in South Carolina, as a rural economic development initiative in South Carolina, finding much of the same issues that have already been cited. I'm not going to repeat all that, but obviously the textile industry left a large amount of stranded resources available. We are a generating state, but in our quest, we have identified, probably close to a gigawatt, or possibly as much as a gigawatt and a half, of facilities, that could be used as data centers in South Carolina. We officially kicked off the industry, 2 days ago in Spartanburg, with the treasurer and Congressman Timmons in attendance, with a ribbon cutting of a $35 million facility, critical infrastructure for the digital economy. Bitcoin as a currency has been adopted by one country in the world right now, El Salvador. I actually met the treasurer in El Salvador about 3 weeks ago. We spent a week down there studying it, meeting with high-level government officials, talking to the people, and understanding how this was a transformative change. Basically, when we talk about financial inclusion in our rural economies, we talk about roughly anywhere from 28 to 30% of our population that is either unbanked or underbanked. And this provides a solution, that provides banking services to these, to this part of the population, where they have not had it before. When you start studying the social determinants of health, and how it's important to have financial inclusion, how it's important to have a bank account, quite frankly, or the ability to use a phone to transfer funds. You start talking about how you turn people from spenders into savers. And all of these are part of the initiative that we have launched in South Carolina, looking to and truly advocating and trying to educate how we can provide a platform for the digital currency industry in South Carolina. As an example, Texas embraced this about a year and a half ago after China expelled the majority of the data centers in China. A large amount of them flocked to Texas because of the low power rates. They have been able to, and just because of the adoption, they attracted a $1 billion software company into Texas for relocating there because of their foresight and understanding what this, what this technology represents. The ability to balance the grid, act as a giant battery for energy generating companies, are all parts of the equation, that talks about digital asset data centers. So, I mean, we can get right down to a very local application on how we can potentially bank our unbanked and underbanked folks in rural economies. We could talk about the top of the food chain, which is the data centers, that are associated with the production, and therein lies another opportunity. One of the things that I've discovered is that we do have data center incentives in South Carolina. They've been written around specifications for the large big tech folks for the most part. There are holes in our incentive programs that don't just don't quite fit. So there are nuances that can be designed in our incentive programs to attract this industry. At the same time, we have a very long history of manufacturing incentives. Manufacturing incentives only focus on tangible goods. There's never been an industry like this before where we're actually where you're actually creating an intangible product. And that's what the future is right now. And that's where we're going with this. So, there's a place for all of it. And one of the areas that we're really trying to focus on is we're not interested in competing with manufacturing and jobs. Obviously, what we're looking at is how do we broaden that base so that we're providing adequate power for the manufacturing needs and obviously the long-term employment and the higher level of employment, just the numbers associated with it, versus the technology jobs that are being created by repairs to machines, the software functions, the coders, attracting folks into the state, that may want to live here, but may be employed by somebody out of state. Our job incentives do not allow that right now. So, there are a number of areas that we can, that we could truly focus on, and I would love for the opportunity to come back and give you a much more detailed presentation on this, obviously. I know we're getting, short on time. Our conference, the first South Carolina Blockchain Week, occurs next week, October 5th through the 7th in Charleston. The treasurer will be opening it up with basically an overview of how they intend to integrate digital assets into or make suggestions from that standpoint. They've been charged with creating a digital currency literacy program for the state. It's the first of its kind in the country. No other state has this, and we are at the forefront of the industry right now. With the treasurer's focus on this industry, where we see it going, and with the promise that it provides. We took a playbook. We took a page out of the playbook of Wyoming, a flyover state. Okay, nobody thinks about Wyoming. They are going after Delaware's business right now for corporate registrations. Their goal is not to just have one or two companies there, they want them all there. And they've done this by crafting a regulatory structure that attracts the industry by providing, bumper guards for it, and essentially taking it and so the states have a role in all this is what it comes down to. Lots of conversations going on at the federal level. At our opening 2 days ago, we had representatives from both our congressional Senate offices. Everybody is focused on this right now. So I would urge that it's a deep dive, okay? It does require an understanding, obviously. It took me 5 years. I'm a 5-year veteran of this industry, and I'm still learning every day. And the fact of the matter is everybody's on a learning track right now. So I invite everybody in this room, join us next week, learn more about it. Our topics include, Bitcoin and data centers in South Carolina, Bitcoin and energy policy, Bitcoin and passive income for individuals, obviously stablecoins regulation. We proposed a stablecoin, a digital payment rail 4 years ago. We're way ahead of our time along those lines. There was a potential opportunity to disrupt the merchant card services with that. That opportunity still exists, but the regulators are starting to come in at the federal level now. So, one door closes in this industry, another door opens up. So Mr. Ott, to your point, in Orangeburg, I lost a $120 million data center in Orangeburg, unfortunately. It was really, but it was actually while the Hyundai, that mega site was in place. So, and it was a matter of understanding, how do we allocate power for this as a manufacturing facility and this as a data center facility at that point. Representative Davis, to your point on education, understanding that if we're teaching, just as a micro example of this, teaching art, graphic art right now in high schools and in colleges is going away. Pure and simple. It's only going to be for the top graphic artists that are going to be able to do it, and they're going to have to know how to use the AI programs that are automatically generating art. So I will close on that, Mr. Chairman. I see your cue, and I appreciate the time.
Thank you for being accommodating, and I do apologize.